Well, good morning, folks, and happy Monday. Glad to have you all with me this morning. Thank you. Today is a good day. Today we get into the bandsaw. So what we're going to be doing today is taking our prepared panels, the ones we prepared last time, and we are going to trace out our templates on them. These templates are seat leg D, and this is going to be piece D for that seat leg. So what we're going to do this morning is we're going to talk about placement on here, how we want to try and keep the grain, how to avoid knots in our material, and we just want to have an overall nice looking piece. So I want to tell you how I have found to be successful when it comes to tracing off of templates. So placing this on here, firstly, let's look at this board. I'll bring it up a little closer to you guys. So we're looking at this board here. You can see it. Let's keep it down the table. Yeah, so I've got a big knot here. You guys see that one? Got a knot here. It's not loose or anything, but it's a good sized knot. Got a knot up here. It's smaller. It's a tight knot. It's not loose. And a couple small ones here that I can really just kind of ignore. They're not going to be big enough to bother us. What I am going to do is we're going to place that template on here and see if we can move it in a way where we don't incorporate this big knot or this big knot here. I'm not really worried about some smaller ones, but I feel like if we moved around a few times, we should be able to get that on there. And we want to keep the grain fairly straight. So we don't want our piece too cockeyed on here. We kind of want it running front to back, keeping the grain, you know, fairly straight. And why that's important is because if you look at these seat slats here, it might be hard to get the detail, but there are actually small lines running up. And you see them, they're kind of shadow lines. There's no information attached to them. That line represents the wood grain. So that shows you how to achieve the most strength for this piece and how this piece is intended to be used. If the grain ended up going this way, and this is placed on the floor in the chair, back a bit. Yeah, so the grain was running vertically, and we had a front leg attached here, and you come home from a hard day of online school, and you flop in your chair, this would snap right down the middle, because there is no strength of the grain running vertically when pressure is applied vertically. So you want to be basically perpendicular to the force being applied, how you achieve the best use of your grain structure and pattern. So that was a little technical, but we just need to lay it out on here with these grain lines on the paper, matching our grain lines on our piece of wood. So we can do that. Bring this on here and see how it looks. So I've got it on here. I haven't incorporated this big knot, but I am incorporating this one right here. So I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over and see if I can figure out a different way of doing it. Not bad. Overall, I think this is the way to do it. So I placed it on there, moved it around a few times, and I'm not incorporating any of those knots. This is the big one up top. This will actually slide over like that. There's that other one I was talking about. So those are not incorporated into my wood, and the grain's going the way I want it. So we're going to call that good. Next step is going to be we're going to trace that out. So the sharp pencils I was talking about, we're going to grab one of those. We're going to trace that out. Double check everything. Everything looks pretty darn good. So let's make it happen. Now we are going to need two of these. They are going to have to be a left and right pair. that is something pretty important to pay attention to. I'll get to that a little bit more when we start the drilling process. That is the most important. We start using the drill press to drill out our pilot and counter holes. Well, there's a difference between what a pilot and counter is, and why and how we make pairs. Left hand mitts. Got one backwards thumb. It's gonna be all weird on this hand right here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get these in here. So we do it. What I've done here is I have traced this piece out. It might be hard to see, so we're gonna bring it a little closer. A little bit. Okay, so that is that. With these, I'm working on stuff like this. That is tough to see. I wish we had a little better lighting in here. The best way to be effective in keeping this the original shape, because that's what we want to do. We want to keep this size. We don't want it smaller. We don't want it bigger. It's designed to work as is. Best thing to do is when we cut this on the bandsaw, we're going to cut on the outside of our lines. Not much, millimeter maybe, and then we're going to sand down to our finished dimension. If we cut right on the line and then we sand, we're actually going to end up too small. We don't want that. So we want to cut just slightly larger, just outside the line, and then sand down to the line. And that should give us a pretty good overall quality piece. So that's awesome. We are going to cut this on the bandsaw, and I'm going to turn this camera just slightly, and hopefully we can see the bandsaw. And we have an electrical cord in the way. Get that out of the way. Change that. See how this angle looks for working. I don't like it. We're going to change it. Is start cutting those pieces out. We're going to talk about that. Trace out my second one quickly, and we'll get to work. See this one a little bit. See the tracing up there, all the way down to there. So no major knots incorporated. A couple small ones, but not a big deal overall. So when we're gonna cut these on the bandsaw, a couple things you need to be aware of is these big radius cuts here. So on the back side, right there, this big curved cut and this big curved cut here, those are at a low enough radius or a big enough radius. So a nice curve, big curved cut. We won't have to actually put relief cuts in there. So relief cuts are for tighter, tighter curves. Now, if you wanted to, there's nothing wrong with putting relief cuts on here, but this isn't going to twist or put enough tension on the blade to cause it to whine or squeal or really stress it in any way. When you start hearing that whining and squealing on a blade, that is a sign that something is not right. you could be applying too much pressure to the blade one way or another, and that could be, what do you call it? That could easily be preparing to pop the blade off of the wheels up top here. We've got wheels here. We don't want to apply too much pressure in any way, left or right. This blade is about due for replacement here, so we'll see if it how well it cuts. But this one is, it's seen a bit of use. It may make a little bit of noise. It may not cut quite as quick as I would like. A good sharp blade will cut pretty much silently through soft material like this. The only thing we're going to hear is the noise of the motor of the machine, maybe a little bit of bearings or something rattling maybe. There are guards here that do rattle a bit. But we're going to get into that. So before we do that, safety first, sleeves up, jewelry's coming off, watch can stay on because it's nice and tight, safety glasses around my head. And with this, you want to keep your hands minimum 3 inches. I like 4 from the blade. There's no real reason for us to get close. Oh yeah, someone's saying the watch. Jakob's saying watch. It's pretty tight, so I'm gonna keep it on. I like it just for video timing. I can reference it quickly, and I'm not taking up too much of your time as well. So as long as it's tight, it's gonna be okay to have on. But like I said, if you got that nice bust down, you might want to take that off. So I'm gonna keep mine on, but we're gonna cut this piece out. We'll probably just cut the one, and this would be the same process for armrest H. Those are slightly smaller pieces, but if we have time today, maybe what I'll do is I'll cut out an armrest and one of these so you can see one of each example instead of me cutting out 2 legs. So we'll do that. This one isn't hooked up to a vacuum, so we don't have to turn that on. Table's nice and clean. Guard is as low as I can get it, which is just slightly above the surface of my wood. A little more than that 1/4 inch, but this is as low as it's gonna go. So we're gonna put our safety on, safety glasses. We're gonna fire this baby up, and we're just gonna push this through nice and gentle. Let's plug it in first. You can see that I've cut right close to the line, but not the entire line. So that's how we're going to be accurate. One thing I forgot to mention is this here looks like a curve. It's actually a series of straight lines. So I've got a straight line from here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here, and here to here. That's important for putting the C-slab on. So we need to make sure that we do these lines straight. So I come out one at a time. Straight line, straight line, straight line, straight line. And then I continue cutting my curve. We're going to do that right now. As you guys can see, done is create a flat spot, flat spot, flat spot, flat spot, a small flat spot, large curve here, back slope of the leg. Things turned out pretty well on this. It went fairly quick. There is a bit of sanding to do. We're going to use some shapers tomorrow to do that sanding. I'll show you how those work. Tomorrow what we're going to do is we're basically going to finish these pieces aside from the drilling, both these and the arms. So that will kind of be tomorrow's project. What I am going to do is I'm going to grab one of those armrests and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So what I've got here is armrest H, and the armrest H board that we're going to use. With this same thing, we're not going to incorporate any large knots. I'll try our best to avoid it. This piece does not see as much stress as the seat leg. It's just the arms, but may support some arms, may lean on them a bit, but not going to support your entire body weight like the leg piece. So if we do end up with a few knots in the arms, it's not as bad as if we put the large knots in the leg. So with this process, it's going to be the same thing. You guys have seen one example of it. I don't need to show you this. It would be trace it out, cut it out, and then we'll move on to sanding tomorrow. So I'm going to basically pretty much wrap this video up here, I think. Make sure everyone drops their names in the comments, please. I need that for my attendance. We've got 18 of you in here, so that's awesome. So I hope to see 18 names in there. And yes, there will be a quiz. I am going to open that up very shortly here. With this material, we need to be aware of how easily this can be cut. There was one section here where I actually cut the line where I didn't want to. I was kind of feeding the material through, and this is quite soft, and this blade is fairly aggressive, but we'll cut through soft material fairly quick. That's something you definitely need to pay attention to if you are working close to the blade with your hands. That's definitely not something you want to do. Got a lot of scrap pieces like this one here, the big one. A lot of the smaller cut-off pieces I have here. I've got a handful right here. We want to make sure these all go in the scrap bin. Another thing is, whenever we're done using the saw, I usually take my scrap off the table as I go. There isn't really much for dust on here. I'll just blow it off. But when I hit stop here, I don't want to leave the machine until this blade has stopped rotating. It is a very quiet machine, especially when I have things like dust collectors going in here. And it's going to be very hard for them to hear and very hard for them to see because the blade looks fairly similar, whether it's rotating or it's stationary. So, big safety thing with these is whenever you're done, shut it off. If there is someone behind you, you can just say, hey, you can use this now, but the blade is still moving, be careful. If there is no one behind you, stay with that machine until the blade stops rotating, and then you can leave it. So that's a big one there. Yeah, I'm going to cut the rest of these out and get everything ready for tomorrow's lesson, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. So please drop your name. Haven't yet. I'm going to shut down the audio and video. I'll be here for 15 minutes and get the attendance done. I'll get that quiz uploaded for you. Awesome. So if you have any questions, ask me, shoot me an email. You guys know the deal. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. And I hope everyone had a great weekend.
Awesome.
Wait, you have illegal contacts?
You don't? Whatever. Some street racers secretly add drop subs to their fuel for super shady advantage.
How do you do that?
Hello.
It's just your cars. So fun if you don't drive them really, really fast.